Now we come to the next sutta, number 60, Apannaka Sutta, the incontrovertible teaching. In other words, the indisputable teaching. Cannot argue about this teaching because this teaching the Buddha is going to give is so logical. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering in the Kosalan country with a large sangha of monks, and eventually he arrived at a Kosalan Brahmin village named Sala. The Brahmin householders of Sala heard, the recluse Gotama, the son of the Sakyans who went forth from a Sakyan clan, has been wandering in the Kosalan country with a large sangha of monks and has come to Sala. Now a good report of Master Gotama has been spread to this effect. That Blessed One is Arahant, Sammasambuddha, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. He declares this world with its gods, its Maras and its Brahmas, this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people, which he has himself realized with direct knowledge. He teaches the Dhamma, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and he reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Now it is good to see such arahants. Then the Brahmin householders of Sala went to the Blessed One. Some paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some exchanged greetings with him, and when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, sat down at one side. Some extended their hands in reverential salutation towards the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Some pronounced their name and clan in the Blessed One's presence and sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. When they were seated, the Blessed One asked them, Householders, is there any teacher agreeable to you in whom you have acquired faith supported by reasons? No, Venerable Sir, there is no teacher agreeable to us in whom we have acquired faith supported by reasons. Since, householders, you have not found an agreeable teacher, you may undertake and practice this incontrovertible teaching. For when the incontrovertible teaching is accepted and undertaken, it will lead to your welfare and happiness for a long time. I stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is asking them, do you have a teacher that you have faith in? And they said, no. The Buddha said, in that case, I will give you a teaching which cannot be disputed by anyone else. And what is the incontrovertible teaching? Householders, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is this. This is the doctrine of nihilism. There is nothing given, nothing offered, nothing sacrificed, no fruit or result of good and bad actions, no this world, no other world, no mother, no father, no beings who are reborn spontaneously, no good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in the world, who have themselves realized by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. Now there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is directly opposed to that of those recluses and Brahmins, and they say thus, there is what is given and what is offered and what is sacrificed. There is fruit and result of good and bad actions. There is this world and the other world. There is mother and father. There are beings who are reborn spontaneously. There are good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in the world who have themselves realized by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. What do you think, householders? Don't these recluses and Brahmins hold doctrines directly opposed to each other? Yes, Venerable Sir. Stop here for a moment. So here, the first paragraph, the Buddha is talking about worldly wrong view. Worldly wrong view means not believing in the law of karma vipaka, action and its result. Not believing that there are planes of rebirth, and not believing that there are holy men. And the converse is worldly right view. Now, householders, of those recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this, there is nothing given, etc., no good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in the world who have themselves realized by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. It is to be expected that they will avoid these three wholesome states, namely good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct, and that they will undertake and practice these three unwholesome states, namely bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct. Why is that? Because those good recluses and Brahmins do not see in unwholesome states the danger, degradation, and defilement, nor do they see in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying, those recluses and Brahmins who have wrong view, they do not believe in the law of karma vipaka. And because they don't believe in the law of karma vipaka, they don't bother to practice good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct. Instead, they practice unwholesome states of bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct simply because they do not see the danger of the unwholesome states, the defilement, and they do not see in wholesome states the aspect of cleansing. Since there actually is another world, one who holds the view there is no other world has wrong view. Since there actually is another world, one who intends there is no other world has wrong intention. Since there actually is another world, one who makes the statement there is no other world has wrong speech. Since there actually is another world, one who says there is no other world is opposed to those arahants who know the other world. Since there actually is another world, one who convinces another there is no other world convinces him to accept an untrue Dhamma. And because he convinces another to accept an untrue Dhamma, he praises himself and disparages others. Thus any pure virtue that he formerly had is abandoned and corrupt conduct is substituted. And this wrong view, wrong intention, or wrong thoughts, wrong speech, opposition to noble ones, convincing another to accept an untrue Dhamma, and self-praise and disparagement of others, these several evil, unwholesome states thus come into being with wrong view as their condition. Stop here for a moment. So here this part the Buddha is saying that one who does not believe in other planes of existence, other planes of rebirth, has wrong view. And when you have wrong view, it follows that you have wrong thoughts. Here it says wrong intention, you can also call it wrong thoughts. And falling on wrong thoughts, you have wrong speech, because from thinking you break out into speech. And also you oppose what the Arahants say, and you convince another to accept untrue Dhamma. So these evil, unwholesome states come into being because of wrong view. About this, a wise man considers thus: if there is no other world, then on the dissolution of the body, this good person would have made himself safe enough. But if there is another world, then on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. Now whether or not the word of those good recluses and Brahmins is true, let me assume there is no other world. Still this good person is here and now censured by the wise as an immoral person, one of wrong view who holds the doctrine of nihilism. On the other hand, if there is another world, then this good person has made an unlucky throw on both counts, since he is censured by the wise here and now, and since on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. He has wrongly accepted and undertaken this incontrovertible teaching in such a way that it extends only to one side and excludes the wholesome alternative. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying, if a person has wrong view, so he undertakes unwholesome states, that means bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct, and he does not believe that there is this law of karma vipaka and that he will be reborn in another world. So if there is no other world and there is no law of karma vipaka, then he is safe enough. But even then, even then, in this very life, because of cultivating bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct, even here and now, in this very lifetime, people will censure him, will criticize him as an immoral person. But if on the other hand, the law of karma vipaka does exist, and there is another world, there is rebirth, then this person is unlucky in both ways. Here and now, he is censured or scolded by others, and after death, he will end up in a woeful plane of existence, even in hell. So, because of wrong view, he suffers now and he suffers after death. Now, householders, those recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: there is what is given, etc. That means they have right view. It is to be expected that they will avoid these three unwholesome states, namely bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct, and that they will undertake and practice these three unwholesome states, namely good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct. Why is that? Because those good recluses and Brahmins see in unwholesome states the danger, degradation, and defilement, and they see in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. Since there actually is another world, one who holds the view there is another world has right view. Since there actually is another world, one who thinks there is another world has right thoughts. Since there actually is another world, one who makes the statement there is another world has right speech. Since there actually is another world, one who says there is another world is not opposed to those arahants who know the other world. Since there actually is another world, one who convinces another there is another world convinces him to accept true Dhamma. And because he convinces another to accept true Dhamma, he does not praise himself and disparage others. Thus, any corrupt conduct that he formerly had is abandoned, and pure virtue is substituted. And this right view, right thoughts, right speech, non-opposition to noble ones, convincing another to accept true Dhamma, and avoidance of self-praise and disparagement of others. These several wholesome states thus come into being with right view as condition. I'll stop here for a moment. So here this is a converse. If a person has right view, he believes in the law of karma vipaka, he believes that there are places of rebirth, and that there are holy men, then he will be careful to conduct himself properly, that he will cultivate wholesome bodily conduct, and good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct. And because of these three good karmas, here and now, people will praise him as a person, a morally upright person. And then if there is another world of rebirth, then he will, after death, be reborn in a happy destination of rebirth. Oh no, this I haven't come to that yet. So because of his right view, right thoughts, because of right view, he will have right thoughts, right speech, non-opposition to noble ones, convincing another to accept true Dhamma, etc. These are all the wholesome states that come into being because of his right view. About this, a wise man considers, if there is another world, then on the dissolution of the body after death, this good person will reappear in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. Now, whether or not the word of those good recluses and Brahmins is true, let me assume that there is no other world. Still, this good person is here and now praised by the wise as a virtuous person, one with right view, who holds the doctrine of affirmation. And on the other hand, if there is another world, then this good person has made a lucky throw on both counts, since he is praised by the wise here and now, and since on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. He has rightly accepted and undertaken this incontrovertible teaching in such a way that it extends to both sides and excludes the unwholesome alternative. So here the Buddha is saying that if a person has right view, he believes in the law of karma vipaka and rebirth, then he will undertake good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct. So here and now he is praised by other people, and after death, if there is no world, then it's okay. But if there is another world after death, then because of his good conduct, he will get a good rebirth in a happy destination, even in heaven. So it is safer to believe in right view than to believe in wrong view. You believe in wrong view, you suffer now and you suffer after death. You believe in right view, then you are praised here and now in this very lifetime by others, and after death you go to a good destination of rebirth. Now we come to the doctrine of non-doing. This is Purana Kassapa's doctrine. Householders, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: when one acts or makes others act, when one mutilates or makes others mutilate, when one tortures or makes others inflict torture, when one inflicts sorrow and makes others inflict sorrow, when one oppresses or makes others inflict oppression, when one intimidates or makes others inflict intimidation, when one kills living beings, takes what is not given, breaks into houses, plunders wealth, commits burglary, ambushes highways, seduces another's wife, utters falsehood, no evil is done by the doer. If with a razor-rimmed wheel one were to make the living beings on this earth into one mass of flesh, into one heap of flesh, because of this there would be no evil and no outcome of evil. If one were to go along the south bank of the Ganges, killing and slaughtering, mutilating and making others mutilate, torturing and making others inflict torture, because of this there would be no evil and no outcome of evil. If one were to go along the north bank of the Ganges, giving gifts and making others give gifts, making offerings and making others make offerings, because of this there would be no merit and no outcome of merit. By giving, by taming oneself, by restraint, by speaking truth, there is no merit and no outcome of merit. Now there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is directly opposed to that of those recluses and Brahmins, and they say thus: when one acts or makes others act, when one mutilates or makes others mutilate, utters falsehood, evil is done by the doer. If with a razor-rimmed wheel one were to make the living beings on this earth into one mass of flesh, into one heap of flesh, because of this there would be evil and the outcome of evil. If one were to go along the south bank of the Ganges, killing and slaughtering, mutilating and making others mutilate, torturing and making others inflict torture, because of this there would be evil and the outcome of evil. If one were to go along the north bank of the Ganges, giving gifts and making others give gifts, making offerings and making others make offerings, because of this there would be merit and the outcome of merit. By giving, by taming oneself, by restraint, by speaking truth, there is merit and the outcome of merit. What do you think, householders? Don't these recluses and Brahmins hold doctrines directly opposed to each other? Yes, Venerable Sir. Now, householders, of those recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: when one acts or makes others act, there is no merit and no outcome of merit. It is to be expected that they will avoid these three wholesome states, namely good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct, and that they will undertake and practice these three unwholesome states, namely bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct. Why is that? Because those good recluses and Brahmins do not see in unwholesome states the danger, degradation and defilement, nor do they see in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. Since there actually is doing, one who holds the view there is no doing has wrong view. Since there actually is doing, one who thinks there is no doing has wrong thoughts. since there actually is doing. One who makes the statement there is no doing as wrong speech, since there actually is doing. One who says there is no doing is opposed to those arahants who hold the doctrine that there is doing, since there actually is doing. One who convinces another there is no doing convinces him to accept an untrue Dhamma. And because he convinces another to accept an untrue Dhamma, he praises himself and disparages others. Thus, any pure virtue that he formerly had is abandoned, and corrupt conduct is substituted. And this wrong view, wrong thoughts, wrong speech, opposition to noble ones, convincing another to accept an untrue Dhamma, and self-praise and disparagement of others, these several evil, unwholesome states thus come into being with wrong view as condition. About this a wise man considers thus: if there is no doing, then on the dissolution of the body, this good person will have made himself safe enough. But if there is doing, then on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. Now, whether or not the word of those good recluses and Brahmins is true, let me assume that there is no doing. Still, this good person is here and now, censured by the wise as an immoral person, one of wrong view, who holds the doctrine of non-doing. But on the other hand, if there is doing, then this good person has made an unlucky throw on both counts, since he is censured by the wise here and now, and since on the dissolution of the body after death, he will reappear in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. He has wrongly accepted and undertaken this incontrovertible teaching in such a way that it extends only to one side and excludes the wholesome alternative. So the rest of it is the same. This is the doctrine of non-doing. Purana Kassapa's doctrine that there is no karma, there is no vipaka. If a person believes in this, it has this wrong view, then he will misconduct himself through the body, speech and mind, and because of misconduct, in this very life, he is looked down by others, criticized by the wise, and after death, if there is another world, then he will be reborn in unhappy destination, even in hell. And conversely, if a person has right view, that is the opposite. Now we come to the doctrine of non-causality, which is the Ajivaka, Makali, Gosala's doctrine. These Ajivakas are naked ascetics. Householders, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: there is no cause or condition for the defilement of beings. Beings are defiled without cause or condition. There is no cause or condition for the purification of beings. Beings are purified without cause or condition. There is no power, no energy, no manly strength, no manly endurance. All beings, all living things, all creatures, all souls are without mastery, power and energy. Molded by destiny, circumstance and nature, they experience pleasure and pain in the 6 classes. Now there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is directly opposed to that of those recluses and Brahmins, and they say thus: there is a cause and condition for the defilement of beings. Beings are defiled owing to a cause and condition. There is a cause and condition for the purification of beings. Beings are purified owing to a cause and condition. There is power, energy, manly strength, manly endurance. It is not the case that all beings, all living things, all creatures, all souls are without mastery, power and energy, or that molded by destiny, circumstance and nature, they experience pleasure and pain in the 6 classes. What do you think, householders? Don't these recluses and Brahmins hold doctrines directly opposed to each other? Yes, venerable sir. Now, householders, of those recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: there is no cause or condition for the defilement of beings, etc. They experience pleasure and pain in the 6 classes. It is to be expected that they will avoid these 3 wholesome states namely good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct, and that they will undertake and practice these three unwholesome states, namely bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct. Why is that? Because those good recluses and Brahmins do not see in unwholesome states the danger, degradation, and defilement, nor do they see in wholesome states the blessings of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. Since there actually is causality, one who holds the view there is no causality has wrong view. Since there actually is causality, one who thinks there is no causality has wrong thoughts. Since there actually is causality, one who makes the statement there is no causality has wrong speech. Since there actually is causality, one who says there is no causality is opposed to those arahants who hold the doctrine of causality. So similarly, the argument that follows is the same as before. So when a person has wrong view, he will misconduct himself through the three karmas, and in this very lifetime he's looked down by others, especially the wise, and after death he will have a bad rebirth in the woeful plains. Householders, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: there are definitely no immaterial realms. Now, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is directly opposed to those recluses and Brahmins, and they say that there definitely are immaterial realms. What do you think, householders? Don't these recluses and Brahmins hold doctrines directly opposed to each other? Yes, venerable sir. About this, a wise man considers. These good recluses and Brahmins hold the doctrine and view there are definitely no immaterial realms, but that has not been seen by me. And these other good recluses and Brahmins hold the doctrine and view that definitely are immaterial realms, but that has not been known by me. If without knowing and seeing, I were to take one side and declare, only this is true, anything else is wrong, that would not be fitting for me. Now, as to the recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, there definitely are no immaterial realms. If their word is true, then it is certainly still possible that I might reappear after death among the gods of the fine material realms who consist of mind. But as to the recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, there definitely are immaterial realms. If their word is true, then it is certainly possible that I might reappear after death among the gods of the immaterial realms who consist of perception. The taking up of rods and weapons, quarrels, brawls, disputes, recrimination, malice, and false speech are seen to occur based on material form, but this does not exist at all in the immaterial realms. After reflecting thus, he practices the way to dispassion towards material forms, to the fading away and cessation of material forms. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that some people say there is only the material realm, the form realm. You don't have the immaterial realm, the formless realm. But if there is no immaterial realm, then you will not be reborn there. It doesn't matter what you believe. But if there is an immaterial realm, and if you practice, cultivate yourself to be reborn there, which is a higher realm, then you can be reborn there if you practice in the right way. Now we come to Bhava Nirodha, cessation of being, which is another word for Nibbana. Householders, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: there is definitely no cessation of being. Now there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine is directly opposed to those recluses and Brahmins, and they say thus, there definitely is cessation of being. What do you think, householders? Don't these recluses and Brahmins hold doctrines directly opposed to each other? Yes, venerable sir. About this, a wise man considers thus: these good recluses and Brahmins hold the doctrine and view that is definitely no cessation of being, but that has not been seen by me. And these other good recluses and Brahmins hold the doctrine and view that definitely is a cessation of being, but that has not been known by me. If without knowing and seeing, I were to take one side and declare, Only this is true, anything else is wrong. That would not be fitting for me. Now, as to the recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, there definitely is no cessation of being. If their word is true, then it is certainly still possible that I might reappear after death among the gods of the immaterial realms who consist of perception. But as to the recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, there definitely is cessation of being. If their word is true, then it is possible I might here and now attain final Nibbana. The view of those good recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view that definitely is no cessation of being, is close to lust, close to bondage, close to delighting, close to holding, close to clinging. But the view of those good recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view that definitely is cessation of being, is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, close to non-holding, close to non-clinging. After reflecting thus, he practices the way to dispassion towards being, to the fading away and cessation of being. Stop it for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that some people say there is no Nibbana, but some people say there is Nibbana. So the Buddha says, since you don't know whether actually there is Nibbana or no Nibbana, don't take a one-sided view. To be safe, don't side only with one side. But if you reflect that if there is Nibbana, then you practice the way to attain Nibbana, then there is a chance that you will attain Nibbana if Nibbana exists. But if you don't practice the way to the cessation of being, then even if there is Nibbana, you won't attain. And the Buddha says that those who hold the view that there is cessation of being is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, to non-clinging. Okay. Householders, there are 4 kinds of persons to be found existing in the world. Here a certain kind of person torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself. Here a certain kind of person torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. Here a certain kind of person torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself, and he also torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. Here a certain kind of person does not torment himself or pursue the practice of torturing himself, and he does not torment others or pursue the practice of torturing others. Since he torments neither himself nor others, he is here and now hungerless, extinguished and cool, and he abides experiencing bliss, having himself become holy. So here, after this, is a description of the 4 types of persons which we had already seen in Sutta number 51 previously. So we won't go through this. So here the Buddha talks about about these 4 types of persons. And then when this was said, the Brahmin householders of Sala said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the darkness for those with eyesight to see forms. We go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma and to the Sangha of monks. From today, let Master Gotama accept us as lay followers who have gone to him for refuge for life. That's the end of the sutta. So here, this sutta, the Buddha is teaching these people that some people believe in karma, vipakkas, and also believe that there are realms of rebirth. On the other hand, there are people who are opposed to this, who don't believe in karma, vipaka, and that there is planes of rebirth. So the Buddha explains in such a way that he's telling them that it is safer to believe there is karma, vipaka, and places of rebirth, because when you believe in karma, vipaka, and places of rebirth, then you will cultivate wholesome conduct. And when you cultivate wholesome conduct, you are praised by the wise here and now, and after death you have a good rebirth. Whereas if you don't believe, then you cultivate unwholesome conduct. Here and now in this life we are criticized by others, And after death, if there is other worlds, other realms of rebirth, then you will very likely be reborn in woeful places of rebirth. Similarly, when the Buddha talks about higher planes of rebirth, immaterial realms, and also nibbana, that that is safer to believe that these exist. So we'll stop here. So we finished 60 suttas up to now. That's quite good. I have not personally studied the agamas because I don't know Chinese. But as we mentioned in the talk, early Buddhism in India, that the agamas, they are quite deficient. The number of suttas they have is very low, about half of what is found in the Theravada Pali Nikayas. That's one thing. Secondly, because the Mahayana school, they look down on what they call these Hinayana sutras, and they have this Bodhisattva precept where they are not allowed to read these Hinayana sutras, and because of that, they neglected these early suttas for many hundred years. And later, when Buddhism developed to the stage where Mahayana started to accept Theravada teachings, and Theravada schools at that time also started to accept Mahayana teaching and believing the Bodhisattva path and paramis and all that. Then these Mahayanis started to look for the early suttas, and the Digha Nikaya, they got it from one school. Majjhima, what they call the Digha, this Chang Ahan Jing, the equivalent of the Digha Nikaya, they got it from one school, and the equivalent of the Majjhima Nikaya, they got it from different school and all that. So they were getting back these sutras at a very late stage, in India, and it is reasonable to think that those sutras that they have are corrupted, very much corrupted. That's why they have certain views which are quite different, quite opposed to the early Pali suttas. And we see in this Professor Hirakawa's book that he says that our Theravada Pali suttas have been preserved very purely since the time of Emperor Asoka. So we are quite confident that our suttas are quite pure, quite correct, as opposed to these Mahayana equivalent, which has been corrupted and which is very deficient. Only about half of the suttas are found there. And of course, because they have added in some of these Mahayana views into these the Agama Sutras, so it cannot be as accurate as our Theravada Suttas. I didn't quite catch your. You're talking about who? Oh, Christians, okay. Oh yes, if they do more good deeds than evil deeds, then they will go to a good place of rebirth. But if they only depend on their God to help them and don't bother to do good deeds, then when they die, they, like a lot of people, they don't have enough blessings to come back to the human realm or to the heavens. Then they will go into the ghost realm. If on top of that they do evil, then they go to the animal or hell realms. Not really, because as the Buddha mentioned in this sutta, that if you don't have this worldly right view, then you will be careless of your actions. You will do unwholesome karmas through the body, speech and mind. Whereas if you have right view, then you are careful, you are more careful, you will do a more wholesome karma. And the Buddha is saying, if there is no such thing as karma vipaka and places of rebirth, that's okay, you are safe. But if there is, then you are careless, you are going to go to hell. So it's safer to believe than not to believe. And since most religions talk about heaven and hell, so a lot of people accept it. Just that some people don't bother to think about it. Usually you find the Buddha says that he does anything, he reflects first. A wise person, when you want to do anything, before you do, you reflect first whether it is worth doing or not worth doing. And then even when you are doing, you should reflect, and even after you have done, you should reflect, in which case your karma is always purified. But a person whose mind is very blurred, he doesn't think. A lot of people are like that. We are moved by our emotions, our emotions, our cravings. So for this type of person, because their mind is very blur, then it's just like a drug addict. When he needs the drug, and he just has to get it. He doesn't stop to think. Even he will kill to get the drug. You see. But a wise person, before doing anything, you think carefully first. So the thinking, that reflecting, that is yoniso manasikara. Careful consideration, proper consideration before you do anything. So if you have that, then in this case, whether to believe or not to believe, there is karma vipaka. Then when you reflect carefully, it's safer to believe. That's what the Buddha is trying to say to these people, because these people, they don't have any dharma, they don't have any teacher. The Buddha is trying to tell them, it's safer to believe. Of course, if your five hindrances are already abandoned, then you have yoniso manasikara. But even in the suttas, the Buddha says, when the Dhamma is taught, and you pay careful attention, At that moment, when you are paying, your mind is focused on listening to the Dhamma, and you pay full attention. At that moment, the five hindrances are weakened so that they don't hinder you. Then you can see things clearly. That's why focused mind is important. There are some suttas. We haven't come to one sutta where the Buddha scolded one disciple, and he said, "You have not achieved anything because I notice every time I give Dhamma talk, you never pay attention." The Buddha said. So in the same way, whenever we have a Dhamma talk, when you are eating, don't go and talk so much. There's some of you, Dhamma talk going on. You talk a lot. I can hear your voice instead of the Dhamma talk. So if the Buddha was around, the Buddha would scold you. Yes, these habits are hard to overcome, especially like anger and all that. That's why we need to meditate. When we meditate, we try to focus our mind, and that's why in the Buddha's teachings, meditation is always samatha meditation. When we sit down, we only try to focus our mind. But some people, if you have learned the meditation in the wrong way, then you can sit for a long time, you don't progress. I can see some people after so many years of meditation, they don't progress. They are not practicing the right way. And maybe they are too proud to ask. They should come and ask if they have a problem. So every time we meditate, we train our mind to focus. And after a few years of practice, then only you progress. It's not so easy. Not easy to discipline our mind. The Buddha said, it's easier to fight 1,000 persons, 1,000 soldiers, 1,000 times than to fight with your own mind. Okay, shall we end here?